Microsoft 365 E3 or E5. Which one is going to work best for you and your organizational needs? In this video, we're going to check it all out. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Here comes the video. So let's start on the Microsoft 365 plans and pricing page. You can see I've already got the M365 tab highlighted. You can change to other tabs on this page and look at Frontline, O365, Government, and Non-Profit as well. But we want to talk about Enterprise today. We may cover these on another video. So what are our options within M365 Enterprise? So this is in US dollars. You can change this to UK pages and other countries around the world, of course. And we get three columns here, and we have a M365 E3 column, which shows us that per user per month it's going to cost $36. E5 per user per month, quite a step up, $57 per user per month. So it's a big consideration for organizations to step up to that E5 position. But is it worth it? I personally think it is, but we'll go through all the whys and wherefores as we go through the video. The other column here is for M365 F3. This is the frontline worker plan. And I won't focus on this one too much. I'm going to, broadly speaking, focus on the M365 E3 versus E5 debate and not get into the frontline worker stuff too terribly much, to be honest. Frontline plans really are aimed at individuals and organizations who maybe don't have the need to have the full fat client installations of the desktop versions of Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook. They have a trimmed down version of the product. They may have a smaller mailbox, smaller amount of OneDrive storage, just to give you an idea of what that's all about. So let's go down a little bit and see what's included. Apps and services included in the plans. We can see that there's a lot included in all of the plans, to be honest, and very little difference between E3 and E5 in terms of the applications that are available. And the F3 one, to be fair, has a lot of apps available to it also. So what you can do to get a bit more detail is get the full comparison table in a PDF format, which I have open here. We'll get to that in a moment, and that's where we'll spend the bulk of our time in this video. But as you go down this document, you can see all the plans in a bit more detail. You can get trials if you want in certain situations. You can't always get trials. You can't get it on M365 E5, for example, which I think is a shame that you can't, but that's a decision Microsoft have made. But you can get a quick glance here at what's available in the plan. So you can see here M365 apps, yes, partial, that tick box there means, and you can expand these out and see more detail in terms of what is included and what isn't. So the areas that I'm always focused on are areas of security, compliance, and identity. So I'm going to be very, very focused on things like information protection, threat protection, identity and access management, insider risk management, that sort of thing. So if we expand it, information protection, we don't get an awful lot of detail there. So this is why I want to skip over to the PDF. But this gives you a bird's eye view of what's included. And there you go. That's the end of the page, really. So let's jump over to this wonderful 10-page PowerPoint presentation, which shows you all the detail that you are going to need. I've zoomed in on this already because, again, I want to focus broadly on the Microsoft 365 E3 versus E5 comparison, these first two columns here. We will touch on some of these little add-ons a little bit because you can, if for example you've got Office 365 E3 and E5, then you can get these add-ons and step up your Office 365 packages to E5 security or E5 compliance without going the full M365 E3 or E5. So as you can see, that there is potential for confusion here without a doubt. You can get lots of different flavors. You get M365, which is the be-all and end-all. You get so much with M365, E3, and E5. You can complement your Office 365 E3 and E5 subscriptions as well by bolting on Enterprise Mobility and Security, E3 and E5 again. That's going to give you a lot of the features that are available in security, compliance, and identity features of M365. And there's Windows 11 content here as well. And on the right-hand side, we've got the M365 frontline plans again and some of the frontline add-ons. So we'll keep it sort of honed in on this area here. So let's go through and take a look at what you get. So the apps, you really get everything that you could possibly need with both the E3 and the E5. You get all the desktop client apps, your Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook. You get all the M365 mobile, and you can install apps on up to 5 PCs, Mac, 5 tablets, 5 smartphones. You get M365 for the web, so the online versions. Visio for the web, which is really quite cool actually, and a lesser known available feature. Visio is the diagram production piece of software which I used to use quite a lot back in the days when I was a more active on customer site consultant and doing network diagrams, but I don't use it so much these days. But it's really good to know that the web version is available in these plans because it's really cool. Microsoft Loop components, E3 and E5, and across Office 365 plans as well. I love Loop at the minute. I am using Loop so much in my meetings, in my day-to-day role with my team. It keeps us focused, keeps us together on our tasks and our agendas for meetings. Love Loop so much, and it's great that it's available across many plans. Create and share Loop pages and workspaces, more stuff on Loop there. Clipchamp Standard is available with your M365 E3 and E5. Clipchamp is a wonderful, wonderful tool, which if you are familiar with the intro music and video of my channel, which is on every one of my videos, I produce that with Clipchamp. Admittedly, it's a little bit amateurish as I'm not very good at that sort of thing, and I'm thinking about trying to improve that and revamp it a little bit, give it a bit of a relaunch. But I made that with Clipchamp, and it's available in M365 E3 and E5. Nothing else though, so you do have to be on the M365 plans for that. Editor Premium features, multilingual user interface for Microsoft 365 apps. Okay, so that's the apps. Let's have a look at the email and calendar sharing availability here. So we can see that we have Exchange Kiosk, which gives you a 2 gig mailbox, Exchange Plan 1, which gives you 50 gig mailbox and 50 gig archive, Exchange Plan 2, 100 gigabyte mailbox and up to 1.5 terabyte archive. Now you can see that the top level Exchange plan and archive plan is available here within M365, E3 and E5, also across some of the Office 365 plans, the E3 and E5 again. These kiosk ones and the plan ones, if we scroll across, we see them in some of the Office 365 plans, and along we'll probably see them in some of the frontline as well. So that's pretty cool. The Outlook desktop client you get in both auto-expanding email archive, which is really cool. Exchange Online Protection. Exchange Online Protection's come on a long way in the last few years. Microsoft are very, very firmly established in their desire to be a security company these days. They were not perceived as such for a very long time, and they've invested heavily in security. And if you look in things like the Gartner quadrants and the Forrester, whatever they call their stuff, Microsoft are in the right spaces in those organizations' assessments. So Exchange Online Protection, Public Full, yuck, Public Full is why on earth is anyone still using those? But They're still there, still available if you love them. Resource mailboxes, inactive mailboxes, Microsoft Shifts, lesser known, lesser adopted feature, I think. I don't see a lot of traction for that, but I guess it's got its place in maybe manufacturing companies, warehouse, shift-based organizations may use that more than I realize. Tell me if you know of that being used quite heavily and well adopted. And again, Microsoft Booking's not something that I've particularly used terribly much, but good availability across Exchange functionality. Let's have a look at meetings, calling, and chat. How does that compare in terms of E3 versus E5? So we're really talking about Teams here and Teams capabilities. And really, it's a case that everything is available in both, apart from Teams Phone Standard and audio conferencing. There are either no or limited capabilities within the E3 side of things. And again, you can see availability of these features across some of the Office 365 plans as well. So some good features in Teams, obviously, unlimited chat, online meetings, Town Hall. I'm presuming they mean live events by that. I didn't know they'd renamed that product, but I'm guessing that's what that means. Webinars, screen sharing, custom backgrounds, etc., etc. So lots of good features for Teams available to you in both plans. So far, we're getting some added value with our E5, but nothing extraordinary yet. I think broadly speaking, if you're doing the apps and you're doing Exchange and you're doing Teams, then so far you're getting away with E3 really, unless you want anything particularly fancy. Okay, let's move on to SharePoint. What can we get in terms of SharePoint storage? Well, if you have a SharePoint kiosk license, then let's get this lined up with the plans here. Then that is going to be way across here on the right under the frontline plans, and that gets 2 GB of OneDrive storage. SharePoint Plan 1 is 1 TB of OneDrive storage. That's attached to Office 365 E1. And then SharePoint Plan 2 is attached to both the E3 and the E5 plans at 1 TB of storage for OneDrive there as well. Content services, things like Microsoft Graph API, Search, Microsoft Stream on SharePoint, Forms, Lists, and Delve. Important, but less important, shall we say, although I'll probably annoy the Graph fans, because people do for sure love their Microsoft Graph, don't they? Okay. Right, project and task management. Again, not something I'll focus on too heavily, but if planner and to-do are right up your street, you can see that the functionality is across all of the good M365 and O365, E3 and E5 plans, and on E1 on O365 as well. We've got some analytics stuff here, like adoption score, secure score, compliance management, and Power BI Pro. Power BI Pro is really the only step up you're going to get here when considering E3 versus E5. Viva, the Viva suite. Viva always makes me think of my wonderful Viva Explorer friends, the likes of Leslie and Kevin and Femke and loads of people in the Viva Explorers. I haven't talked to those lovely group of people for a while, but check them out online. So we've got Viva Insights. Viva Insights, so useful, enables you to do things like virtual commute and look at your meeting habits and that sort of thing. So Viva Insights app within Teams, that is going to be in E3 and E5, as are the personal insights and experiences. If you want premium personal insights and experiences, you've got to make that step up to E5. Viva Learning. Now, Viva Learning, this surprised me actually. I actually didn't realize that Viva Learning in Teams and associated capabilities was available in M365 E3. So it's in E3 and E5, which is really cool. So Viva Learning is very, very similar to other online learning platforms like LinkedIn Premium, if you have that, or the organization that I work for, Insight. We have an internal platform called Percipio, which is a great learning channel. So really good availability for Viva Learning. And Viva Engage, the application, if you want to call it that, or the service formerly known as Yammer. And so with Viva Engage, we get communities, conversations, and storyline across E3 and E5, and you can get some advanced security if you go just on E5. And then lastly, Viva Connections, you get dashboard, feed, resources, and Teams app. Okay, so we are getting to the good stuff. Well, not that the above is not the good stuff, but my area of interest, as you know, is definitely security, compliance, identity, and we are into identity and access management here. We're into Entra ID, Plan 1 and Plan 2. So you can get Entra ID Plan 1 with Microsoft 365 E3, and you can get it with Enterprise Mobility and Security E3. You can get Plan 2 as part of your M365 E5 and as part of the E5 security bolt-on, and with EM and S E5 as well. So what can we get with our identity and access management? User provisioning across pretty much most of them that you would expect. Cloud user self-service password change and cloud user self-service password reset. Available across pretty much everything that you would want it. I've got to admit, I'm going to have to do some research here. I don't know the difference between these two things. I am aware of SSPR, self-service password reset. I don't really know or understand what this one is, so a little bit of digging for me to do there. If you know what it is before I get to it, please let me know in the comments. Hybrid user self-service password change or reset with on-premises write-back. Available across E3, E5, good stuff. Advanced security reports, MFA, crucial. Got to be able to do MFA. Conditional access is available across E3 and E5. It's also available with your EM and S plans as well. Here we get into some of the real extra value when you're talking about E5 though. We get things like risk-based conditional access and identity protection, PIM for privileged identity management, for just-in-time access to those privileged accounts like your global admins and others of that nature. We get things like access reviews to look at standing privileges, review those on a regular basis, either as an admin or as a user. Entitlement management as well, as where we can grant access to access packages, which is really, really cool. I've done videos on pretty much all of these over the duration of my channel, and you can see content relating to these as you look back through the videos. M365 groups you get across E3 and E5, and then we get on-premises Active Directory sync for single sign-on across both, direct access supported, Windows Hello for Business, and advanced threat analytics available in E3 as well. Actually, I must admit I didn't realize that. I thought the advanced threat stuff was only in E5. So we are seeing a lot of real value in E3, to be honest. If you can't justify that step up to E5 in your organization, let's face it, not everybody can justify that, then you really can do more with less, as the buzz phrase from last year, 2023, or may even been the year before now, time moves that fast. But you really can. There's a lot you can do with E3 and make it work for you. Let's take a look at endpoint and app management. Intune Plan 1 is available across M365, E3 and E5, and you can get MDM. Yes, it's pretty much everything here is across the two plans that we're focusing on, and some of the features scattered across some of the Office 365 plans as well. For example, in O365 across E1, E3 and E5, you can do all of the MDM stuff, which is cool. So the bulk of it is within both the M365 E3 and E5 plans though, which is really cool. So, Cloud Access Security Broker, whatever you want to call it these days, MCAS or OCAS or MDA, Microsoft Defender for Cloud Apps. This has had lots of names over its many, many iterations. But the discovery part of it, Defender for Cloud Apps Discovery, where you can just get that visualization and not really do anything with it in terms of policies and whatnot. You can get that across, obviously, M365, E3 and E5, and you can also get it within the EM&S plans. Defender for Cloud Apps itself, the full fat version of it, where you can do all that good stuff with policies and responding to certain things that those policies trigger. Then that is across E5, E5 security, E5 compliance, and E5 in the EM&S suite. And then there's the Office Cloud App Security as well, which is obviously built into Defender for Cloud Apps. It's part of that. But if you just want the Office 365 related stuff, then the Office 365 E5 plan is for you. DLP, I love DLP so much. And it's often very confusing to know what you can do with DLP with the various different licensing plans. This is the one I get asked about probably the most. Which license do I need to get DLP to work for this, for that, the other? This explains it all. So DLP for emails and files, the day-to-day stuff really. So that's available across E3, E5, and Office 365, E3 and E5 as well. This is the one that always annoys me a little bit, that that it's in E5 only. DLP for Teams chat. Now Teams is, we're all using Teams these days, right? So I think this should be available in E3 as well. But there's that argument that is leveled back at me when I say this, that DLP for Teams chat is more of an automated or automatic feature, if you like, rather than manual settings in policies. It's more intelligent. I'm not sure I necessarily agree with that, but that's what's been leveled back at me. But if you want to protect Teams chats using DLP, you're going to need that E5, or step up to that E5 compliance. Onto information protection, and there are two information protection plans that you can get as standalone, or I think you can. I'm not sure if you can actually buy these on their own these days, but Plan 1 and Plan 2 are part of various information protection SKUs, and Plan 1 is part of E3 here, Plan 2 part of E5, and available across some of the EMS variations as well. And here is where we get into that manual versus automatic debate again. So anything manually applying sensitivity labels in Microsoft 365 apps, then you can do that across both. But anything that has automatic in front of it, you will usually find that that is an E5 exclusive feature. So if you want to do automatic sensitivity labeling using built-in sensitive information types in 365, you're going to need that E5. So there we go again, manual sensitivity labeling for Teams meetings. Now interesting, even though that's manual, we're going to need E5 for that. Again, I don't think I actually realized that. But go through that and we can see that there's various differences between the E3 and the E5. So here, you're really getting that extra value from your E5 step up. There's a lot of gaps in E3 here in terms of information protection, which is massively important in terms of protecting your data. Identity is key, obviously, but if malicious actors break through your identity defenses, this is what they want to get to. They want to get to your information, your data, and it's only as good as what you've got wrapped around that data. So as much of this column here that you can get is crucial in my opinion. Let's take a look at threat protection. So what have we got here? We've got some of the Defender stuff, and there's a Defender for everything these days, isn't there? So let's have a look at Defender anti-malware, available across E3, E5, the Defender firewall, the same, the exploit guard and the credential guard, which is really cool stuff. And I had thought that this was only E5, I must admit. I think it was at one point, but it's nice to see that those features are now in E3. BitLocker and BitLocker to go across both, and then Defender for Endpoint Plan 1 is in E3, and E5 availability and E5 security. If you want the Defender for Endpoint, more advanced features in Plan 2, you're going to need that E5 step up once again. And still a little bit niche, but I think it's going to become ever more relevant in coming months and years. Defender for IoT, that obviously is in the E5 camp at the moment, as is Defender for Identity, which is the tooling that allows you to bring the protection of the cloud into your on-premises identities as well. So you set up sensors and scanners on your servers to get that cloud level protection. Defender for Office 365 Plan 2. So Defender for Office is all of your things like safe links, safe attachments, that sort of thing. That is available in the E5 side of things. I'd always thought there was a Plan 1 as well, but maybe I'm mistaken. Application Guard for Edge, Application Guard for Office, and Safe Documents. So again, we've got some significant gaps in the E3 side of things here, so be wary of that. Let's move on to data lifecycle management, which broadly speaking relates to retention and manual retention labels. So again, we've got this manual versus automatic here. Manual retention labels across E3 and E5 and various other in the Office suite. Basic org-wide or location-wide retention policies the same. Rules-based automatic retention policies, you're going to need that E5 there, as you will with machine learning-based retention as well. And Teams message retention policies you can do in both E3 and E5. Hooray! So there's a difference there between Teams availability for something between data lifecycle management and DLP. I really don't get that Teams DLP not being in E3, I must admit. Records management, if things need to be marked as records or regulatory records, you are going to need that E5 step up again. On to e-discovery, one of my very favorite subjects, e-discovery and auditing, I should say. Not something I've done much on for a while. I think I'm probably due an update video on that. But the features of e-discovery and auditing, we start with content search, which is the very, very basic level. The sort of junior e-discovery, if you like. Then we have e-discovery standard, including hold and export. These are both available across E3 and E5, as is litigation hold. To be honest, in my own opinion, the real value features in this suite are the three bottom ones that you, the e-discovery premium and audit premium. You really need these, in my opinion, in your organization. E-discovery premium is the only e-discovery worth using. It has so many great features in it. It's worth the money. So you can get that in E5, and you can get that in E5 compliance add-on, and it also comes with Office 365 E5, which is really cool. Insider risk management, it's not as widely adopted as I would love it to be just yet, but it's very important, and it's integrating into other key features of compliance in Purview, such as DLP, for example. So we've got insider risk management available. These are all E5 features, communication compliance, information barriers, lockbox, and privileged access management. So you're going to need some flavor of E5 for that. Automation, app building, and chatbots. I don't know an awful lot about the Power App side of things, but it looks like, broadly speaking, you can get most of what you need in E3 and E5. And then Windows 11 edition looks very, very like for like again here in terms of E3 and E5 availability. So that's us through the sort of main subscriptions, and as we come to the end of the document, there is a couple of pages for add-on subscriptions as well. So here we can see that Copilot for Microsoft 365, for example, can be added to an M365 E3 or E5 subscription. It's not applicable in certain other ones. So wherever you see a plus sign here, you can add the particular feature in. Teams Premium, I've not really looked at or done much at all with Teams Premium just yet, but you can add this into pretty much all of the subscriptions here on the left-hand side. And then we've got some more premium Teams services like extended minutes, domestic calling plans that you can add across the various SKUs as well. And SharePoint storage and migration, similar additions that you can put on: extra file storage, advanced e-discovery storage, cross-tenant data migration, multi-geo stuff, advanced data residency, and Viva stuff here. Video editing, security and compliance add-ons. This is the part that interests me the most. So you can add on E5 security to M365 E3, so you can step up there. Same with compliance. So go down this. You can add in lots of great stuff. If you can't go that full E5, but you need one or two of these, then you have the availability to add those in as add-ons. Same with Power Platform as well. And then finally, Windows with things like Universal Print, High Efficiency Video Codec. So this is a very comprehensive slide deck, and it's in PDF format here that I have it. I will give you the link to get this in the chat. And the final thing I want to show you here is the very popular M365maps.com. This is produced by an individual at Microsoft, Aaron Dinage, and the latest update was July 2023. Aaron tends to update this pretty regularly, and it's really, really good in terms of being able to look at various diagrams across many features here. So you can do it all across M365 Enterprise here. So you can look at it all, or a Venn diagram, or a landscape diagram, or you can look at just the E3 features. If we click on E3 there, you can see what's included in M365 E3. So with that, you get Office 365 E3, EM&S E3, Windows Enterprise E3. So that's pretty cool. If we click on back, we can see the same with E5, for example, and we can see there the E5 step up. So there's a lot more in that, and you think you can scroll on these, but it actually magnifies and reduces, which always catches me off guard, as you can see. But a lot in there, and you can download these as well and view them however you want, and they are very, very useful to get a slightly different view of the licensing available to you. There you go. Lots you can do with E3 and E5. I think the key distinction that I always look to point out is that anything automatic you're going to find in that E5 camp, and manual you're going to find in the E3 availability. So that doesn't rule out E3 if you have needs to automatically apply. In certain situations, there are little tweaks you can do, like setting default labels, for example, or requiring a user to apply a label. There's little workarounds. If you want to do that, do more with less with E3, and can't justify that E5 step up. Even large-scale enterprises that I've worked with will sometimes debate this. Can they go the whole E5 route? And they'll look at add-ons and various different ways to get there. So you need to have a very, very good think about how this is going to be best applied in your circumstances if you're advising a leadership team of what your recommendation is for your organization. There's lots of ways you can license this as well. So larger organizations tend to still go for those large enterprise agreements that are negotiated with solutions providers or solutions integrators like Insight, where I work. My favorite way of licensing M365 for an organization, though, is CSP, the Cloud Solution Provider methodology, where, again, a provider or an integrator like Insight can do it on your behalf, be your provider, your cloud solution provider, and procure that licensing for you. And the benefit of CSP over the other models is that you can move up and down the licensing that you purchase quite flexibly. You can add and reduce the numbers as you go through the licensing year. The default and the easiest way of doing it is right from the tenant, from the billing, set up a credit card and bill it annually or monthly. But lots to think about and lots of different ways to do it. There's no right or wrong answer. You've got to find what works for your organization. It may be that you're a smaller business as well. We didn't touch on the business packages. We might do that on another video at some point. But Business Premium is a really good package. M365 Business Premium, a really good package for that smaller organization that has up to 300 users, because you're going to get some really cool stuff with that, like conditional access in Entra, which is crucial to protecting your users and your data. So there you are. That's my thoughts on the E3 versus E5 debate. It really does depend. I'm giving you the consultant answer. It depends. But look into it carefully. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. As always, I'd love to hear your experiences, and Do hit that subscribe button for me as always. It means so much to me when you do. Do give me a thumbs up as well. Also helps me move up those YouTube rankings. And I'll see you very, very soon for another video. You take care. Bye-bye.